Well, hello, everybody. My name is Christina Krost, and this is Creative Climate Solutions, how people of faith can address climate change. Thank you for joining us. So we can go to the next slide. So if you're unfamiliar with Faith in Place, Faith in Place empowers Illinois people of all faiths to be leaders in caring for the earth. We provide resources to educate, connect, and advocate for healthier communities. And we believe very strongly in the faith-led environmental movement here because it's focused on justice and care for our common home. So here's a picture of some of our staff, and we are an affiliate of Interfaith Power and Light, which is a national organization. So we are the Illinois affiliate of Interfaith Power and Light. Many states have affiliates as well, so you may be familiar with that organization. Go ahead to the next slide. So we are a statewide organization. We have offices all across the state. I sit in what we call Southern Illinois, and I outreach to basically the bottom third of the state. And Cindy, who is right above me on the screen, at least on my screen, is sitting in Urbana-Champaign, which is our Central Illinois office, but we also have offices in Chicago, Lake County, and the north and west suburbs. So we work statewide, though we all are mostly working from home these days, but we do outreach to the entire state of Illinois. You can go to the next slide. So we want to hear from you and learn a little bit about you. Please use the chat function to tell us where you're sitting right now, where you're located.
Oh, it's a fancy poll.
Okay.
Never mind the chat. We got a poll.
Yeah, so if you're from somewhere outside of Illinois, we would love for you to, in the chat, tell us where that is. But otherwise, which of our regions are you located in? So right now we've got several from north and west suburbs. Thank you for joining us. Palatine, right. So that would be Dan's area, right. Sure.
Dan Huncha is our north and west suburbs outreach person.
Yeah.
You may know him. How many people know Dan? Show of hands.
I don't have their cameras on.
Nobody's caring.
I've contacted him via email. I haven't personally spoken with him.
He's on vacation right now. I'm sure he'll get back to you as soon as he can.
Well, he connected me with the person I was looking for, so that was
great. Even better. All right. So it looks like most of y'all are from the north and west suburbs. Thank you for hopping on today. Some of us are from Southern Illinois. Some of us are also from Central Illinois. So we've got a nice diverse group today. All right, let's go to the next slide.
Oh, this is our favorite.
Yeah, this is not our favorite. So I'm, again, Christina Krost, the Southern Illinois Outreach Coordinator. Cindy is the Central Illinois Outreach Director, and we're just pleased to be with you today as we talk about creative climate solutions, including natural climate solutions. You can go to the next slide. All right, Cindy, tell us.
All right, so today we've got like 45 to 50 minutes. We are going to pack a lot of information into it. First, we're going to start by talking about our climate crisis a little bit and just a refresher of your middle school biology and chemistry courses. Then we're going to go to the solutions, and that's what we want to spend most of our time talking about, ways that we can impact climate change, the ways that we can make a difference. And then we'll just end by quickly telling you about some upcoming events and the ways to get connected with Faith in Place. Next slide. So when I first started with Faith in Place 6 years ago, I used to get a lot of pushback when I started talking about the climate change or the climate crisis. I'm telling you, I don't get that very much anymore. But so this is going to be a pretty quick review. Next slide. We all know that the greenhouse effect or global warming, climate change, all those things are the result of having greenhouse gases trapped in our atmosphere. A lot of these greenhouse gases are natural, but the reason that we're getting more and more out of balance is because of the human-caused greenhouse gases that are part of our atmosphere now that prevent the sun's energy from being reflected out back into the universe and keep it here where it gives us more energy on Earth than we can really handle in our atmosphere. Next slide. That means that our carbon dioxide, which is the most common greenhouse gas and the one that's released in the largest quantities when we burn fossil fuels, the concentration of carbon dioxide in the climate has been steadily climbing since we was first measured in the 1960s when it was around 310. It has gone up and up and up and up. It varies a little bit seasonally. That's why it's a jagged line. And in May, it was 417 parts per million. Then in October, it was down to 410 parts per million, but it's still on the upswing. And 430 parts per million, scientists tell us, is the threshold at which our entire global climate will be 1.5 degrees centigrade, which is almost 3 degrees, 1.5 degrees Celsius, which will be almost 3 degrees Fahrenheit warmer, and substantial and perhaps irreversible changes will happen. So that's why we are addressing climate change right now. Next slide. Christina is going to tell you why.
So the effects of all of that extra energy in our atmosphere, or the extra greenhouse gases, is impacts specifically like flooding, air quality, and heat waves. And those are kind of the three big ones that we see here in the Midwest, and we see it already, and we will continue to see with greater violence, I guess. Next slide. So this was the anniversary of the Chicago heat wave this year. I think it was 25 years, right? That killed so many people and really highlights the inequality of where these kinds of extreme weather events happen and who they hurt the most. So when there's extreme temperature, like heat waves, it hurts the poor, which often would be in communities of color, low-income communities, and the like. And so there is not an equal distribution of these kinds of effects across our country. And so that is why people of faith need to be working quickly to address these issues. Next slide, please. And so as people of faith, we want justice-based solutions. As you can see here, this amazing quote from Pope Francis, that this crisis is social and environmental, and that the solutions that we should be looking for would also solve problems like poverty and dignity to the underprivileged, and also protecting nature. And when we can do all of those things together, all of these things being connected, we can help build a healthier society. Next slide, please. So we are talking about solutions now. Next slide, please. And some of those solutions involve energy efficiency. This is something we can do at our homes and at our houses of worship as well. But we're going to talk specifically right now about our personal home efficiency. So a third of our energy is just wasted, whether that's inefficient windows where all of our heat or our air conditioning is just blowing out our windows, or keeping lights on when they don't need to be on, these kinds of things, just wasted. And so in our state, since much of our energy is produced through burning coal, we are burning coal to produce energy that is just wasted. That coal, the effects from burning that coal harms people of color, communities of color, and low-income communities, because that is where they locate these coal-fired power plants. And so if we're just wasting that energy and we are harming our neighbor, that should be offensive to us as people of faith. So let's go to the next slide. So we need to be more energy efficient, and I'm going to tell you how to do that in just a minute. Can you go to the next slide, please? So we are going to talk about smart energy use. So for those of us that are in ComEd territory, the programs we're about to talk about are identical, but they have different names, whether you are a ComEd customer or an Ameren customer. So as we go through here, and if you're in the north and west suburbs, you're a ComEd customer more than likely. So I will flip back and forth between these names in just a second. Go to the next slide, please. So we have some smart energy program opportunities depending on what utility that we have. So if you are a ComEd customer, there's a program called Peak Time Savings, and they also have what's called an hourly pricing program. If you're an Ameren customer, the same peak time program is called Peak Time Rewards instead of Peak Time Savings, and the hourly pricing program is actually called Power Smart Pricing. Same programs, different names because they're different utilities, okay? Let's go to the next slide, and we'll talk a little bit more. Here's a video, I believe, about talking more about these programs.
Sometimes the video is a little bulky, to say the least.
Sorry,
It's from
everyone.
Okay.
Why don't we go to the next slide, Sal? Because I can describe it from there.
Okay, cool. And then come back to the video?
If it's working on getting loaded, sure.
All right, I'm gonna try one thing right now and see if this works. No, let's just keep going.
All right, great. So, okay. Which one are we on? Let's start there. Peak time rewards. So if you're a ComEd customer, it's peak time savings. If you're an Ameren customer, it's peak time rewards. But the idea of this program is that you get paid by the utility to use less energy on peak time days. So this is a program for customers that have smart meters, which should be basically everybody in Illinois right now, unless you're on a rural electric co-op, in which case you may not have a smart meter. But anybody who's a ComEd or an Ameren customer has a smart meter right now. It's an opt-in program, which means you have to tell them, hey, I want to be part of this program. You're not automatically enrolled. There is a cap at how many people can participate. So it's good to go to their website and get yourself enrolled whenever you think about it. If there's a waiting list, they'll let you know when there's a spot that gets opened up. So it's best to just sign up and let them tell you when you can get into the program. It's not a perfect system. We don't run it, but it's worked for us. So you have to opt into this program. So again, you get paid to use less electricity at a high demand time. A high demand time is going to look like a really hot summer day where everybody needs to run their air conditioning. And especially, we're all home these days. So there's lots of demand on the grid on those hot summer days. It does not cost you anything to enroll in this program. And if you don't participate, you're not penalized in any way. But if you do participate, you can get a credit on your bill for the amount of energy that you reduced during that peak time. What that looks like is when you sign up, you let them know, hey, I would like to be notified of peak days by text or by email or by a phone call. You get to decide what your best communication method is. And so when there is a peak time day, they'll text you, call you, email you, and say, on usually the next day, the following day, between the hours of maybe 2 and 5, maybe 3 and 6, please reduce your energy usage. That means they can tell that it's going to be a hot day, it's going to be a high demand day for electricity, and that anybody who can reduce their use a little bit can get a credit on their bill. So what does that look like? Well, turning off the TV, turning off the lights, unplugging what doesn't need to be plugged in, perhaps turning off the air conditioning and running ceiling fans for a little while. Again, it's just a window of time. It's not for the whole day. So you can, stand to see, some money on your bill for the next time for the amount that you reduced. So this is a kind of everybody pitch in a little bit for the greater good of all. Because we all have to share this grid and it's maybe a little bit tricky to manage sometimes. So this is one of those things that's a very easy thing to do. We can go to the next slide and talk about hourly pricing now. Again, if you're a ComEd customer, they call this hourly pricing. If you're a Ameren customer, they call this Power Smart pricing. Same program for both utilities. But again, this is for our residential customers that have smart meters. So if you're a ComEd customer or Ameren customer, you can participate in this program. And this is a program where the price that you pay for your electricity is based on the wholesale market price of electricity. So instead of paying like that same average price all year round, you actually can pay for it the wholesale price. And you can see in this chart here that, in the summertime, it has certain peaks, and in the wintertime, it has certain valleys. So you can save money on electricity because it just costs less during those times if you reduce your usage at those times where, on the peak times, those times where it's extra hot or extra cold. So this is another opt-in program. You have to sign up for it. And it's not great for everybody. But as Cindy just put in the chat, you can save money on this program, even if you don't do a whole lot to reduce your energy usage. Because again, the wholesale market price is the wholesale market price, right? So even our friends who have enrolled in this program, but have not gone around like I do, yelling at their children to turn out the lights or to unplug the toaster on the counter when it's not in use, they can still save money because it's still just a cheaper rate. But this again gets to what are the things that we can do in our homes to reduce the burden of the communities that live near these coal-fired power plants. What can we do? Simple things like this, and we can save a little bit of money as well. So hearing now about peak time rewards or hourly pricing or Power Smart pricing, depending on your utility. Again, these are all the same programs. Based on that, would you participate in that program if you had a little bit more information? So here's a poll. So would you sign up? Yes. Would you sign up for only hourly pricing?
Yay!
Only peak time? Neither? Or maybe you need a little more information before you do that. You actually can enroll in both. It's not as if you have to enroll in one or the other. Wow, great. That's good news. So yes to both. That's a good answer. I like that. So either I explained that okay, or it's just a really exciting program. All right, go to the next
Have we ever
slide.
had 100% before? That's
I don't
great.
think so. All right, so we're going to pivot now. Cindy's going to tell us. So I was telling you about the energy efficiency things that you can do in your homes related to your energy consumption. But Cindy's going to pivot now to natural climate solutions. Go ahead, Cindy.
Oh, thanks, Christina. So Christina told you all about how we can lower our emissions, and by lowering the energy that we use, then we lower the need for fossil fuels to get burned. But even though that's wonderful and we should be thinking about how we can do that, the fact of the matter is, even if we all lowered our emissions by using energy efficiency, there would still be all that buildup of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And that's something that we can address with carbon sequestration, actually, big fancy word, but it's actually quite natural and something that trees and plants already know how to do. So I wanted a slide that looked like this, and I couldn't find one, so I made one. The Faith in Place tree is a perfect example of a natural climate solution, because the carbon dioxide in the air, you all remember this from junior high biology, carbon dioxide is used combined with sunlight in the leaves of the plant by a wonderful process called photosynthesis. It's all coming back to you now, isn't it? And that creates complex carbohydrates that go down and nourish the tree's roots and are sequestered in the soil, then kept in a stable carbon compound in the soil, and the plant releases oxygen, O2, which is what we breathe. That's why plants and animals are natural friends, because plants need carbon dioxide and we need oxygen. What scientists have realized is that up to 30% of the excess carbon in the atmosphere could be captured by natural carbon solutions if we did it just in the most efficient and wonderful way possible. There are big savings to be had by shifting agricultural practices. This is a picture of one of my farmer friends' cover crops and variegated planting, rotational planting. If you keep green things growing more of the year, more of that photosynthesis takes place. So that's a big one, but how many of us have a farm? Not me. Next, the next way that you could make a big impact, I need another slide though, is by restoring natural areas. There we go, reviving ecosystems. A lot of places where trees have been removed in order to make cropland or pasture land. Think of the Amazon, think of places out west. Reviving ecosystems restores the natural soil, it recreates the ecosystem and supports native species. This is also one of my farmer friends in the woodlands in his farm. They replanted trees and they have this beautiful little deer family. Of course, not only does it address climate change, but remember the impacts that Christina was talking about, the flooding, the restored soil absorbs more rainwater and prevents flooding. It also cools the land, making it a better place for other animals and plants to grow. And it addresses the air quality as well. So it does all these things in one fell swoop. Next slide. If you don't have an ecosystem to restore a woodland or a farm, then at Faith and Place, we think we can use the land around us. So this is, somebody said we were putting a place back in Faith and Place. And we can do this as individuals, but we also think there's a really big chance for houses of worship to model this behavior, to teach people how natural climate solutions work, and to show how wonderful and beautiful it can be. And I snapped this picture near my mom's home in Champaign. There's the Free Methodist Church on Mattis Avenue, which has your regular old lawn, but they have also planted a grove of trees, which provides a picnic place. I think there are 3 or 4 picnic tables in there. It's shady in the summertime. It's sheltered from the wind in the wintertime even. And look how many trees there are just in that small place. I bet that congregation knows about the value of trees and natural climate solutions. Next slide, please. We want to encourage houses of worship to use the land that's around them. And we also want to encourage through houses of worship to reduce food waste. This is another natural climate solution that can become part of all of our lives. Globally gets wasted. It's actually higher in the United States than 1/3. So all the land is wasted, and then what grows on it is wasted. And when it is thrown away, it creates greenhouse gas. In fact, methane, which is even more potent greenhouse gas than CO2. The United States or the United Nations has done a study and found that if food waste was a country, it would be the #3 global greenhouse gas emitter. Think about that. Next slide, please. Because, you know, it's bad. But you don't have to feel bad long, because Christina has put together a fabulous toolkit for us so that we can learn how to reduce our food waste, especially, and our waste in general. This free waste toolkit is available free for download at this link that is on your screen right now. Maybe Christina, you want to type that in the chat too, so people can have access to it later. Christina is awesome, and it's a beautiful book that really helps congregations learn together about how to make a difference. Next slide. Oh yes, I gave her a typing responsibility, and now it's time for her to talk again. because no matter how much difference we make in our houses of worship and in our households, our individual climate solutions are not going to be sufficient unless they're coupled with policy change. So, Christina,
That's right.
tell
And
us about this.
if I didn't get that link right, check that out real quick. So
You got it.
did I? Okay. So Cindy is right. All of the things that we do in our own homes are absolutely, I think, a spiritual practice. They are absolutely critical. We need everybody on board. It's a way that we love our neighbor. It's, you know, an act of our faith. But we also need to have policies in place for the nation and the world to make this all a reality. Because at the end of the day, my personal home, you know, habits haven't polluted the way that many corporations have for a very long time. And so we need to balance the personal change with the policy as well. So in the state of Illinois, we have a bill called the Clean Energy Jobs Act. And in that bill, it does a lot of wonderful things to get us a little closer to a just climate policy. There are equitable workforce provisions that help get people who have been harmed by fossil fuel extraction in communities, like those in coal mining communities or coal plant communities, into new jobs so that they can be leading the way and providing for their families in these new industries that are growing. It gives energy access and solar for all. This is an existing program already in the state of Illinois, but it would expand that program to, you know, get more solar on more people's homes, especially, again, those have been harmed, the communities that have been harmed by fossil fuel extraction and the burning of fossil fuels. It helps increase our renewable energy and gives us targets to hit, like 100% renewable by 2050 and carbon-free by 2030. We talk more about energy efficiency, making those programs robust, and perhaps even adding programs in the natural gas sector, not just the electric sector. Capacity market reform, which is how we get our energy in Illinois, is a very complicated system where they buy electricity from auctions that happen occasionally. And so the individual consumer probably has no idea how any of this works. And quite frankly, I didn't either until very recently. So reforming the way that that system works to benefit ratepayers rather than corporations would be a step in the right direction here. Again, looking for carbon-free power by a certain target goal, and increasing the electric transportation in our state. That means public transit, absolutely. So helping invest in transportation that is, you know, lower emission, but also enabling people who maybe can't afford electric cars to be able to afford electric cars in the future. That also means in our shipping and things like that industries, you know, having more non, you know, fossil fuel based options there. Helping to support fossil fuel workers and communities. So again, as we make these transitions, yes, it means that coal plants will be shut down. It means that coal mines will be shut down. Those things are already happening. But right now in the state, these coal plants and these coal mines can close like that with no plan for the community, no plan for tax-based replacement for those folks. So now they have police and fire departments and schools that can't do what they need to do for their people because their biggest tax base just walked away. So the Clean Energy Jobs Act allows for planning for communities and replacement of those tax funds from polluters so that they're not just left high and dry as this transition happens. They are helped and they have plans in place to how to move forward. And utility accountability is also a big piece of this. Thank you, Cindy. Just transition is the word that we use for that. Utility accountability, though, would be a big one as well. If you read the papers in any way, it's hard to find a week where there's not some kind of a scandal at the utilities. And so we want them to be acting for us. We want them to be acting in the best interests of their ratepayers, not in the best interest of shareholders. And so there needs to be more accountability happening there. All right, so and Cindy dropped in the chat a link to find out more information about the Clean Energy Jobs Act. We could probably talk for just an hour alone on that, and we have. The main takeaway here, yeah, the main takeaway, it's 900 pages. The main takeaway is that policy is another way to make the personal change amplified and increase the impact in your state and in your country and in your world. And as people of faith, that's what we are called to do. So another thing that we mentioned, the Solar for All program, it's an existing program. And so this is something that you could research and look into right now. And this is something, if the Clean Energy Jobs Act is passed, would be expanded. I think there's a video. Maybe we should check if the video is working. Yeah.
At Faith in Place, we empower people of faith to fight climate change. But addressing the problem is not enough. We want to solve it in a way that prioritizes those most affected by climate change's impacts. We want climate justice. That is why we support the Illinois Solar for All program. Traditionally, solar energy is only available for wealthier communities. Illinois Solar for All is designed to give low-wealth communities access to solar energy through incentives that make solar installations affordable and keep electric bills down. The program is designed to serve people historically left out of the solar market: low to moderate income households, people of color, and residents of environmental justice communities which are most impacted by pollution from fossil fuels. A quarter of the program's funds are reserved for projects located in these communities. Illinois Solar for All also trains citizens returning from the justice system or leaving foster care to be solar installers, and then incentivizes solar contractors to hire this new workforce. Access to a solar career can make the difference for someone returning from prison. These jobs provide resources that help build a just economy while increasing resilience to climate change for communities. Learn more about Solar for All and other just climate solutions by reaching out to Faith in Place.
All right, very good. So I think that kind of explains a little bit more about what Solar for All is without me having to drone on. So let's go to the next slide. It's another poll asking, are you interested in solar? And again, there's lots of ways that that can happen. It can go on your roof at your own house. It can go on your house of worship. It can be part of what's called a community solar program. There's lots of different things that we can do to make solar happen. But are you interested in learning more about Solar for All? We can help connect you with that kind of information. So it looks like people are interested in solar. That's really exciting. Cindy has solar on her house. I'm sure she could tell you all about it. I do not have solar on my house because I live in a house owned by a church, as my husband is a pastor. So that would be a deeper conversation that would have to happen at our church. But that's why I would be more of a participant in what's called a community solar program, where I have a share of a solar farm somewhere in the state, and I help pay for that, and that helps offset my electric costs. So even if you don't own your home, there are ways that you can access solar energy. All right, so everybody's interested in solar. Yay!
That's great.
And Cindy,
and I will add that one of our Green Team Award winners is a Methodist church in Normal that has a solar manse. So Christina, you just need to get on your board and have them put some solar on your manse roof.
We gotta.
There are lots of ways to take action. It's long-term action, but we can take some actions right today. So we've talked about a few of the things that we can do as individuals, as people of faith, and with our houses of worship in partnership. Of course, reduce food waste, do an energy audit of our home or house of worship. And if you'd like to hear more about the house of worship, please, when you get the email from us to follow up, shoot one right back and say, I think our church or our house of worship needs energy audit. We'll hook you up. You can start a green team, a group of people at your church that bring, or house of worship. I don't know, I have church on my head now that I've talked about that other one. But a group of people that helps educate and connect the entire faith community to these sorts of issues and to ways that we can make a difference. Energy program, either the peak time rewards, which gives you a little savings maybe, or the Power Smart pricing, which definitely gives you a more savings. So those are possibilities. And also we want to invite you to support the Clean Energy Jobs Act by signing our petition. And yes, Christina has put the link to the petition right there in the chat box. You can link on that and sign. Citizens have been important from the very beginning of the Future Energy Jobs Act and the Clean Energy Jobs Act. Citizen input is what has moved the process forward as far as it has, and we're hoping to push it over the line in the lame duck session or early this spring. So please sign on and let your policymakers know that this is important and that we need to get it done for our neighbors in Illinois. We can go to the next slide. I think the next slide is just an invitation to note in the chat box what you'd like to do. What kind of action are you wanting to take with climate change? I'm waiting for the time. This is the first time that we've talked about climate solutions. I'm waiting for somebody to write in the chat box after one of these, I'm going to plant a tree. All right, there's one for get CEJA passed. Anybody else have something? I actually am signing my mother up for community solar this afternoon. Yeah, we have community solar in Ameren territory, and I think there's one in ComEd too. So you can save money whether you have panels on your roof or not. Next slide. All right, Rita, we want to talk to you about those climate projects at your house of worship. Faith and Place would love to help out with that. And
Yes,
Dan,
I've actually spoken with Celeste Flores. So
cool.
yeah, it's located in Lake County. So I was connected with her. So working on it.
Cool. Yeah, Celeste is a powerhouse. She's a rock star. That's wonderful. And you already have signed up for community solar. That's great.
Yeah,
Great.
it hasn't started. I think they're waiting till it's a company called Nexamp. We got it
They're
through
trying to get them
ComEd.
built.
Yeah, they need to get them built. But hopefully once it is all up and running, we can get started.
Wonderful. And I've got my wish. Hilda said that she's always planting bushes and trees and ground cover and treating the soil organically. Yay! Thank you for that. I think that in the years ahead, that's going to be a real difference maker. And it's beautiful too. So can't beat that. I want to thank you all for joining us today. Thank you for the time that you spent with us. I hope that you've learned a little something or remembered, as I said, your middle school science class. But I hope mostly that you are encouraged and that your willingness and a sense of possibilities for us to affect climate change and to actually make solutions has been strengthened. We want you to know that Faith in Place is always here for you. We always want to partner with people of faith and communities of faith throughout Illinois to make these things happen, because we really truly believe that when people of faith lead the environmental movement, they lead it in a direction towards justice, which is where it ought to be. So are there questions? Anybody have, you can turn on your mics and we can talk if you've got questions, or we can let you go too.
I actually have a question.
Thank
This
you.
is Rita. So you mentioned that the Clean Energy Jobs Act, that's due for voting, you said in the spring, is that correct?
Well, it's already, it's going to have to be, because it was introduced last legislative session, it's going to have to be numbered and refreshed for the new session. if we don't get it passed in lame duck, which is looking doubtful. But
Yeah, if they have to elect a speaker at first
Yeah.
at lame duck, that's probably going to take up most of the time there. So we're going to push hard for spring.
Thank you.
we've worked on it so long that I just feel like we're due. We've pushed and pushed, and I thought it was going to get passed this last spring, and then the shutdown happened. So surely we can get it done, because it is a very comprehensive bill.
So we have a church that's in a barn in Schaumburg.
Ooh.
It's a large space, so we sure could use help with heating and cooling, solar panels. But we're not in a low socioeconomic neighborhood. Is it, would it be a possibility to apply for the program?
Hilda, your best shot is probably to, when the Clean Energy Jobs Act is put into place, it will renew these blocks of credits for solar that were very, very helpful the last couple of years. And I've helped lots of houses of worship who are not in socioeconomic low resourced areas or in environmental justice areas. There is still a way to do it with the financing is called a power purchase agreement. And lots of churches choose to do that because it makes sense for them. And I can explain it to you later, but
Okay.
but yes, it is possible. It's probably not so possible right now because of the state of the policy in Illinois,
Right.
but it will
right.
be. It will be.
Okay. We'll keep it in mind. We're a very small church. We don't have the funds, and so we do everything ourselves, all the groundwork and the painting. And so boy, this would be wonderful.
Get in touch with us. We'd
Okay.
love to
Yeah,
work with you.
Great. Thank you.
that's exciting. All right. Any other questions, Catherine? I see you there, but you're on mute. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat.
No questions, really. I also am in the same congregation as Hilda. So her questions would be my questions. And we've got a large, a reasonably large area, lot size. So we do have plenty of room. We're planting more native plants all the time and ground covers and things like that. So we're moving along with that.
Great.
You've got 2/3 of a green team right here on this call. So if you don't have a green team yet, maybe that's a good place to start.
Yeah, make a plan.
Here we go. You can be the president, Catherine.
Why, thank you.
We'll
I'll
get
be
you
your
set
right
up-
hand lady.
We'll get you set up with a coach. So that would be Dan's area, right, Cindy? Schaumburg is north of.
No, Lake County, they said.
Oh, you
So-
said Lake
No,
County.
we're in
We're
Cook
Cook.
County.
Okay. Okay.
And
So
I think we need to get past this pandemic thing, because we haven't been, meeting in the church and all of that. So
Yeah.
right now, we would even have trouble coming up with one other person.
it's
We'll
tough right
wait
now, for
then.
sure.
We'll be
can-
patient. Everybody has to be patient.
And now's a good time to make dreams, write them down and make some
Mhm.
plans. You might not be
Yeah.
able to physically be together or phically, meet at the church, but you're on Zoom now. You could
I guess
dream.
I do have a question. Can our church sign up for these programs like the Peak Time and Power Smart?
No, just residential customers right
Residential.
now.
Okay.
But, as we look at policy, there should be no reason why commercial customers like churches can't do that. So that's another policy piece, that we would be advocating for, saying, hey, all of these really cool energy efficiency programs should also be available to our commercial customers as well. So that's a policy piece that we can advocate for, but currently no.
Okay, thank you.
Good question.
Mm.
I have a question if you guys have some time.
Yeah.
Your other green teams, what kind of programs have they done in their houses of worship regarding food waste?
Mm. We definitely
Well,
have
they,
some houses of worship that compost,
Mm.
and that helps. It doesn't solve this problem 100%, but that does help. Go ahead, Cindy.
I was just going to say that they have adopted a couple of them I know have adopted a zero waste as a goal for like congregate dining when they have a meal together. The Central Illinois Mosque and Islamic Center here did a whole green Ramadan, and they had a sort of competition each night to see how much they could reduce their food waste, and they weighed everything, and it was really cool. They were very enthusiastic, and they gave the kids rewards if they didn't take too much food, and they cleaned their plate, and then they showed the graph every night at the iftar, and so that was really cool. They made a lot of progress. Of course, that was pre-COVID. There's another congregation that has one of the members has some land out in the country where they can compost pretty easily, and so all of their food waste goes there. Composting is definitely something to learn about, and there are lots of different ways to do it. But by doing the education, by working through Christina's toolkit, it really helps people to make better choices about the containers that they use and the amount of food that they put on their plate. And, there's a lot of it's education and awareness. So those things can happen. Those things can happen different ways.
And I should mention that Cindy has helped write a different curriculum called Just Eating. And that's a really great resource that might be a good place to start about kind of confronting the systems of food as it is, and who it advantages and who it disadvantages. So that could be a good place to start the conversation, and then move it toward, well, how do we stop wasting so much food then too? Could be so waste toolkit and Just Eating curriculum could be a really good 1-2 step.
Where do we see that Just Eating curriculum?
I'll pull up a link and put it in the chat. Hold on.
Is it on your website?
It is on our website.
Okay.
And it's available for download. I think you have to sign up, and then they'll send a link. We recently edited that, and I'm not sure whether it's the older version or the newer version that's available right now. They're both good. It was just, is it the old one? Okay.
I think so.
The new one is just a little bit shorter, just a little bit easier to handle. We figured out that
like
people didn't like to
right?
have 4 weeks instead of 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a lot of good food for thought here.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And this will be recorded. So should you know of someone else at your house of worship who might want this information, or this might get them all fired up, you'll get an email with a recording that you could share with them. So feel free to do that. Of course, there's always our website, all kinds of different things that you can, check out there. So I've been with Faith in Place for 5 going on 6 years. And I remember I had never heard of Faith in Place until I applied for a job. And I just remember clicking on the website and being like, these are my people. This is who, yes, and feeling like, so like, oh, they have a plan and they have resources. Like, this is what I need to be doing. So if you know of those people, send them the website, send them the video. Sometimes it can just feel like you just feel so much less alone,
I also put Christina and my email in the chat box. Feel free to shoot us an email, and we'll attempt to answer any questions or just get you connected.
All right.
Thank you so much for being with us. I hope you have a beautiful day. Is the sun shining anywhere?
It's in Palatine a little bit.
Oh,
It's
good.
not so bad out. I was out this morning. It's no wind, so it's good.
All right, I'm on my way.
And there you go.
Thank you
right.
very
Have a
much.
good
Thank you
holiday.
so much.
Thank you for your
You too.
time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.